Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm Kate, Lincoln-Goldfinch, here with you guys every Tuesday in English, talking about the immigration news of the week, what's happening, how to interpret the headlines, what it means for you, and answer your live questions. As a reminder, I'm an immigration attorney based in Austin, Texas, and my law firm is virtual. We take clients in all 50 states because immigration law is federal, and we focus on immigrant families, keeping them together, bringing them together, keeping them out of detention. We do detained cases, we do habeas cases, bonds, humanitarian, family-based cases. That's our focus, is immigrant families. We still are not charging for consultations. Now, I don't know how long this is going to last, but it is still the case that we do not charge for consultations. And the reason for this is that we know how important it is for proper legal advice to be offered to immigrants and their families in times like these. And for that reason, we have provided this free service. And if you need a consultation, if someone you know needs a consultation, the easiest way to do it is to just DM me on the socials, and then we'll get your information over to the team and they'll get you scheduled for an intake. You can also look up my law firm, Lincoln-Goldfinch Law, online, and there's lots of ways to call, message us on the website, etc. I would give you a phone number here in this live, but whenever I announce a phone number on a live video, the social media gods get angry, and so I will not do that. I will not intentionally anger the social media gods. Unintentionally, I do it often, but not intentionally. So in any event, that's why I'm not just like giving you my phone number. But if you need a consultation, feel free to reach out. Obviously, there's no contract signed for the consultation. No promises, and everything is confidential. That's the thing. That's one of the benefits of going to a lawyer or a law firm, is that you are protected by our ethical rules and confidentiality. This is not the case when you go to a forms preparer or a notario. They are not protected by ethical rules, and it's really important, that you go into a licensed attorney with your immigration matters. So let me get to the news of the week, and you can start populating your questions, and I'll get to them as soon as I get through the news of the week. This one is not a surprise whatsoever. Reported by ABC News, which pulled a bunch of data on immigrants in detention since Trump took office last January. And they used FOIA's other data about immigrants in detention. They found that only 3% of the immigrants who have been detained in the last year had violent felony convictions. 3%. So we know this. We know that the vast majority have no criminal history whatsoever, but an even smaller number has violent convictions. And this is, of course, important because the Trump administration, during campaigning, etc., and into the administration, has continued to insist that they're only going after the dangerous, violent, felon criminals. This is the refrain that we hear. And of the, average 60,000 people per day detained by the Trump administration, 3% of them have actual violent criminal convictions. So just another reminder that they lied to us, and they are continuing to lie to us about who it is that they're targeting and going after. And there have been so many studies showing this: no criminal history, and also showing the impacts on children. Over 100,000 U.S. citizen kids have been impacted by family detentions and family separations. If you follow me at all, you've seen all the stories on this stuff and the clients that we've been representing. So anyway, that 3% number is worthy of note. Next news item is about the World Cup. Of course, if you are alive and breathing, you are aware that the World Cup is happening. It is such a celebratory global event. It is one of these events. It's like the Olympics. It's an event where the whole world comes together. People from different nations, different languages, different cultures, different everything, and come together for a shared interest and celebrate global unity. That's what this is all about. That's what the World Cup is all about. And of course, again, none of these news items are surprising. The Trump administration has already been exclusionary and restrictive toward visiting soccer players, soccer teams. And so, like a couple of incidents, the best referee in Africa, and this we say this because he won the actual award. There's an award in Africa for being the best soccer referee. The man who won that award last year, who was coming to ref, was not allowed in at the airport. Similarly, a photographer, I think for the Iranian team, was also not allowed in. And these are both men who, applied for a visa, went through vetting, turned in their social media accounts at the U.S. Embassy. Presumably those were reviewed. They fly all the way to the airport and then they're denied entry for whatever reason. It's not revealed. So there's already big concerns about the ways that visiting teams are being treated by the United States. And disappointingly, FIFA has sort of stayed out of it. They've not really made a statement. They're like, oh, well, this isn't really our purview. It's up to the countries to decide who gets in and out. So the FIFA, the World Cup organization, is not joining in the conversation around this, which is a bit of a disappointment. Next news item, and this is from the New York Times. There are a group of deportees who are being sent to what they're calling a safe third country, although many would take issue with the word safe. A bunch of people are being deported to the Central African Republic, which the U.S. Department of State tells people that we should not travel there for any reason, just to give you a sense of how dangerous the Central African Republic is. There's a lot of warring factions of like armed militias and the government. It's not safe for women. It's of course not safe for deportees from other nations who have no resources, don't speak the language there. And another thing that's so distressing to me about these removals to Central African Republic are that they're removing people who many of whom were given protected status, something called withholding of removal. So in the world of asylum, if you already have a deportation or you don't qualify for asylum, you can qualify for something called withholding of removal. But it's a lot like asylum. When you go and you apply for withholding of removal, you have to prove that you have been persecuted on account of a protected ground. I mean, you have to put forward a ton of evidence. These are not easy cases to win. But the government under the Trump administration is taking the position that withholding of removal only means we can't remove you to your country, the country that you're seeking protection from, but we can remove you to any other country. So some of these refugees are people from Syria, they're from Iran, they've received protection. They've been tortured. I mean, there are people being deported to the Central African Republic who are like covered in scars from having been tortured, come to the United States, gone through that whole process, have no criminal history, and now we're putting them on a plane to the Central African Republic. Like, why? Why is this even necessary? And it's sending a lot of these people to certain death. This particular article that the New York Times published talked about a man who is from Syria, who has diabetes. And one of the things that the Central African Republic is known for is not having medical care. And so it's certain he will not be able to receive his diabetes medication and will likely die post-deportation. So it's just an amazing cruelty that the Trump administration is exacting upon these people who have done nothing wrong, have no criminal history. Let's talk about a good news item. This is in the city of Frisco, Texas, which is in the DFW area, and this is reported by the Washington Post. Frisco has been fraught with battles over immigration issues. There have been a lot of immigrants who are coming to the area of Frisco, particularly people from India, on H-1B visas, and there's been talk of an Indian takeover in the city of Frisco, and there was a mayoral runoff there, a mayoral race that got extremely heated. They've had to shut down city council meetings because there is so much racism. And the good news is, by a very narrow margin, the winner of the mayoral race is Mark Hill, and he has had a message of unity and essentially pro-immigration. But his opponent, who is a retired construction company owner, called immigrants rats and terrorist groups. So good news that guy lost, and what's his name? Mark Hill won. On the other hand, it was by a narrow margin. I think it was like 42 to 40%. So concerning that 40% of the people in that region voted for Vilhauer, which doesn't it just sound like a evil last name? Vilhauer. It sounds like a villain from, what's the movie with Gru? Despicable Me. Vilhauer. But he lost, haha. So anyway, congratulations to Mark Hill. I don't know anything about Mark Hill, so I can't, he's probably conservative. I cannot claim to agree with anything about his politics other than I like the fact that he's less anti-immigrant than his opponent. And then the last news item, the final news item, we can't let June 15th pass without talking about DACA. June 15th, 2012 was the day that Obama announced DACA. And if you're an immigrant, you're in the community, you are a dreamer, you're an advocate like me, you probably remember when DACA was announced and what was going on. I had a brand new baby, and I remember every June, the American Immigration Lawyers Association has the annual conference. It's a huge conference. Hundreds of lawyers around the country gather and celebrate, and not celebrate, learn, right? But then that year when DACA was announced was during the conference, and it was just like, oh my God, such an amazing, exciting celebration. And I was like, so happy with my new baby, but also jealous that I couldn't be there celebrating. I was like hunkered down at home with a newborn. But Obama announced DACA under the idea that young people who are brought to this country as children and who grew up here are very American, and that should a young person grow up and graduate from high school and be a contributing member to society, that they deserve protection against deportation and the ability to get work permission and the ability to set up their lives. And this is something I talk about a lot. Like, do you remember graduating from high school and deciding what's going to happen in this next decade of your life and how critical this period of time is for young people? Are you going to go to college? Are you going to go to grad school? Are you going to choose your profession? Are you going to enter into a partnership with somebody? Are you going to have children? Are you going to get a dog? Are you going to buy a house? Where are you going to relocate? Like, these are all really critical, important, and deep questions in a young person's life. And having the stability and the comfort of knowing that you're not going to be deported and you have status, legal status in this country, allows you to invest in yourself and your own education in ways that you can't do if you don't have that promise. And that was part of the reason that DACA was passed. But unfortunately, ever since Trump took office, there have been attacks on the program for the last decade. Since 2017, there has been litigation against the DACA program that has gone all the way up to the Supreme Court, up to the Fifth Circuit, back down, back up, back down. Biden spent a lot of his years battling these lawsuits, reissuing regulations to comply with court orders. And meanwhile, the whole time, dreamers have been caught in this limbo. What's happening now? What's the Fifth Circuit decision now? What did Judge Hainan say? What did the Supreme Court say? It's like such whiplash when you remember you're this young person trying to establish your life and rely upon this legal status. And of course, Congress has never gotten its act together to pass something permanent. And our young dreamers remain in limbo. And we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people in this country, more than 500,000 people, a significant number of young people who, by definition, graduated from U.S. high schools, were brought here as children, and don't have any serious criminal history, right? This is who we're talking about. And why wouldn't you get behind supporting these young people? Now, it's not just about the dreamers. It's not just about their families. They are also, after 14 years in this program, professionals, right? They're entrenched in our economy. They have jobs, they have businesses and companies who rely on them, and coworkers and colleagues who rely on them. And this is a really massive an important program, and they deserve permanent legal status. And yet we remain in limbo because we are still awaiting Judge Hanen's decision on what's going to happen with Dreamers, not only with initial DACA applications, but with Dreamers in Texas, and whether Dreamers in Texas are going to be losing work permission. And the answer to that question is we don't know. And it is unacceptable that we allow this program to continue in limbo in the way that it has been. And it is another cruelty of the Trump administration that it continues to attack this program. And I'll call out Ken Paxton, the Texas Attorney General, who's now running for U.S. Senate. And he has been leading the charge of the conservative states fighting against work permits for Dreamers in Texas. And shame on you, Ken Paxton. It's despicable the way that this man has behaved and the way that our Dreamers have been treated. So June 15th, today is the 16th. Yesterday was the anniversary of DACA. And so to the Dreamers out there, we are celebrating you. We love you. We need you. We want you here. We support you. And all of those stupid politicians like Trump and Miller and Paxton do not have the majority support of this nation. Their approval rating is 30%. So when you're walking down the street, just remember that 7 out of 10 of the people that you see support you. And that's not enough. I don't mean to say that that's enough. And it is the majority. So don't receive a message of hate in your heart if you are a Dreamer. Receive a message of love, because that is what the majority feels about you. And with that, I'll start turning to your questions and comments. We got a lot coming in. Ooh, I love it, guys. Keep them coming. Okay, Michelle. If someone overstays a tourist visa, applies for adjustment of status via the I-130, how long is the process taking? Okay, great question. We're seeing these take about a year in total from the time you file. If you file a one-step with the I-130 and the I-45 in the same packet, and you file, you get the receipt notice, you go to biometrics, you get the work permit, you go to the interview. But the time from the filing to the interview is about a year. We are still seeing lots of approvals coming in on adjustment of status, although USCIS has added this layer of discretion. This is this big memo that everybody was talking about, where up until recently, it's just been an eligibility question. Like, are you eligible for adjustment of status? Yes or no. Now they have this layer of discretion. And so they're looking at negative factors. And what they consider negative factors, of course, are any fraud in your history and overstaying a visa. So overstaying a tourist visa is an item for consideration under discretion. And if you are an overstay, then you're going to want to include positive discretionary factors in your application. And any lawyer who does these cases can help you think through this and submit an application that should get you over the hump. I will say right now, this is something new that I didn't include in the news. There were reports yesterday, guys, of 4 people being arrested at the USCIS offices. And I heard about this in an immigration attorney Facebook group. So my local colleagues, there was one colleague who reported that their clients were arrested. I don't have my phone on me. I was going to look for the particulars of it. But this person had overstayed and there was a dismissed criminal charge. I want to say it was for family violence. So anytime you've got criminal anything, even if it was dismissed, you want to be very cautious and make sure you've considered this. And then the report, there was a comment on that post that one of the clients told an attorney. So all this is very game of telephone. I don't have, first person knowledge. So I'm trying to give you the level of actual information that I have. Was that 3 other people were arrested at USCIS offices. I don't know obviously anything about those cases or what was happening. We have not in my office had any clients arrested at the courthouse or at USCIS recently. We have not seen ICE arresting people at the courthouse or USCIS, but there were reports of arrests happening at USCIS yesterday. So all that is to say, what I would recommend is that you guys have lawyers with your interviews. Don't go to the interviews alone. And we can talk through before an interview, like what your risk level is, and whether you're eligible to get out on detention. I'll just also take this moment to share, we're still doing habeas cases. We're getting people out every week. Last week, we got 7 people out of detention. We hit our 50th person getting out of detention. So these cases are really working and they're moving more quickly. The federal courts are sort of getting acclimated to these habeas cases. And so it's taking on average 2 to 3 weeks to get someone out of detention when they're detained. It's not possible in every district, right? Like some of the federal districts are less amenable to habeas cases, but these are all things that you want to take into consideration and talk to your lawyer about. Gone are the days where you just file your application, show up for the interview, and don't worry about it. And I know you guys know that, but I'm just confirming based on what we're seeing. Okay, DJ, DACA expires next month, coming onto the 105-day mark. Anything a person should do? Unfortunately, no, there's nothing you can do. We're not seeing DACA. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's not that there's nothing you can do. We're not seeing success in congressional inquiries right now. In fact, a group of senators submitted a letter to DHS with concerns over the failure to adjudicate DACA renewals. They are taking 10 to 14 months in a lot of cases. So some lawyers, including my law firm, were considering federal lawsuits to get these unstuck. So I think we're going to start to see some movement. But basically, Dreamers, you should be filing at least 6 months before the expiration. And DJ, I see that you're at 150, 105, and your DACA expires next month. I mean, maybe they'll approve it in time. You might want to start thinking about what happens if you hit the expiration date. Are you going to lose your job? Is there contract work you could do? Could you start your own business? Keeping in mind that if you work as a contractor or you start your own business, technically, and your DACA expires, technically that would be considered working without authorization, which would prohibit you from getting an adjustment through employment down the line. So these are strategy decisions that you want to be very careful and thoughtful about, and you should definitely have a lawyer. If you want to consult, just send me a DM and we'll schedule a consultation for you about that. This is another TikTok, NATO CD. Can I apply for citizenship with one petty offense within the statutory period? Probably not. I don't know what you mean by petty offense. I mean, I know that that's a legal definition, but I would want to know more about your charges and your conviction. Because one thing to keep in mind, the way that the criminal justice system works, and this isn't fair, but it is the way that it functions, is when somebody gets charged with something, often the police and the prosecutors will throw more serious charges or a plethora of charges against somebody in an effort to negotiate, meaning that they're going to say, max, go for felony or go for several misdemeanors, knowing that the other side is going to come back and say, like, no DWI, but we'll plead down to reckless driving. And then you end up with a conviction that is of a lower nature than the charge. And that's just the way the criminal justice system functions. It shouldn't be a negotiation. It's insane that they do this, but it is the way that it functions. And what it means is when you're talking about somebody's criminal history, you need to know the whole pathway. You need to know, what did the police put on the report? What did the prosecutors charge? And what did the judge convict? And usually those things are different. It starts more serious and it gets less serious. So I would need to know in your case okay, here we go. Retail theft of $57, no jail, no probation, only first time. So unfortunately, that's going to be considered a theft offense, even though it was only $57, which is considered a crime involving moral turpitude, which is not good moral character. So you don't, did you say within the statutory period, within the last 5 years or 3 years if you're married to a U.S. citizen? So you're ineligible with a conviction for theft, any amount within the statutory period. So you want to wait beyond the statutory period. I also want to know when you got your green card and make sure, well, actually, if you got it within the last 5 years, you're actually you're at risk for losing your green card, not just if you file for citizenship, but by virtue of having a theft conviction within 5 years of receipt of your green card. So I'd like to consult with you about how to protect your status in case they put you in proceedings. And if you didn't get adequate representation from your criminal defense lawyer, you can seek to reopen that conviction, because you probably shouldn't have accepted that conviction with the potential immigration consequences that it has. And there's a Supreme Court decision it's called Padilla, and this decision says that criminal defense lawyers have a duty to inform their clients about the immigration consequences of plea deals. Because what can often happen is you have a criminal defense attorney who's like, yeah, petty offense, that $50 doesn't matter, but they don't understand the severity of a theft offense in the immigration context. And so many people over the years have accepted plea deals at the advice of their criminal defense lawyer that then later have them getting deported or losing their status, and they never knew it, and their attorney didn't advise them properly. So Padilla tells criminal defense lawyers that they have this duty. Usually what smart criminal defense lawyers will do, if they don't understand immigration, which is most of them, they'll pull us in, they'll pull in an immigration lawyer. And like one of the services we provide is an advisal to a criminal defense attorney who's telling their clients whether or not they should take a plea deal. So usually you'll have both. And so if you didn't have that level of support or knowledge, it's possible that you didn't get adequate representation from your criminal defense lawyer, and maybe there would be an argument to reopen that case. So that's why I would want to consult with you about what happened when you were charged. That's my recommendation. Willie, veo su pregunta. Voy a finalizar con su pregunta. I have a Spanish question, but I'm going to get, because a lot of you guys are asking questions in English. I'm going to stick with English right now. This is Instagram. Sai, my current status is H-1B. I applied for marriage-based green card November 2024. My case has no updates from the past year. That's weird, because you're going on a year and a half, 2 years. The I-131 was approved last August. That's good. Washington, D.C. Any suggestions would be really appreciated. A few friends of mine applied. Same field office, approved 3 to 6 months. Do I raise a query to USCIS? Yes. Okay. A few things you want to do. You can consult with me and we could do a case status inquiry for you. If you don't want to do that, what you want to do first is check the processing times on the USCIS website. So you go to USCIS processing times and you select your form. Your form is going to be the I-485 adjustment of status, and you're going to select based on marriage, and then you're going to select your field office. So what did you say? DC. Then it's going to give you their processing time, and it's going to say 12 months, let's say. If you are outside of that window, you can submit a case status inquiry to USCIS. If you're inside of that window, you cannot. They'll just kick it out. So let's assume that they're really backlogged in general, and it says that they've got a 24-month processing time. Well, you've got to unfortunately wait until you get beyond the 24 months, okay? So first check if you're outside of their posted window. Second, if you're outside of their posted window, you can submit a case status inquiry with the field office. The way that you're going to do it without a lawyer is to call the USCIS customer service line. I say that in quotes because it might win the prize for the worst customer service of all time in the world. But you have to call the 1-800 number, tell them you're outside of posted processing times, and you want to submit a case status inquiry. Next, you're going to go to your congressperson where you live, and you're going to ask them to do a congressional inquiry. They're going to have a form they need you to fill out, but then you're going to have a member of Congress also submitting an inquiry at the same time. You also might want to get your employer, if they're supportive of all of this, which I imagine they are on the H-1B, your employer's attorney working on this. Because often what will happen is an employee like you is on an H-1B, and you say to your employer, I'm actually getting married to a U.S. citizen. I'm filing for a green card. And they're like, great, we don't have to do a perm. It's cheaper for us. You're going to get your green card. They like it. But if you're having trouble, you can go back to your employer and say, hey, this is pending too long. Can you guys use your law firm to sort of help step in and move this along? And they should be willing to do that if you're an employee in good standing. So those are 3 suggestions I have for you. Check processing times. If you're over processing time, do a case status inquiry, do a congressional inquiry, go to your employer and ask them to get their attorneys involved to maybe unstick this case, whatever's going on. And I don't know where you're from. It could be that you are from one of the visa ban countries. There's 39 countries on the visa ban. If you are, and that's the reason for the delay, the good news is there's a recent court order from, is it, I can't remember if it was out of Boston. It was in New England. Rhode Island, yeah. That said that the visa bans are illegal and they have to unstick them. So there's some recent case law that will support you. Okay. Next, Rain Pantana. Overstayed F1 for 24 years, married a U.S. citizen 2 years ago. Should I still file or wait? And you're from the 75 countries ban. I would go ahead and file if I were in your shoes, because it's going to help you to have this case pending, right? You're at risk either way. You're at risk as an out of status person, driving around, going to work, living your life. Okay. And we're in an era of extra surveillance. So the idea that anybody can live under the radar or off the grid is just not happening. We've got Palantir conglomerating all the data that DHS has from every state agency, every local agency. Like, you just, off the grid is a farce right now. So you're on their grid, and and you're undocumented. So if I were in your shoes, I would file, get the I-130 and the I-45 pending, and that helps you should you get messed with or apprehended. Then you can say, I've got a green card application. I'm married to a U.S. citizen. That helps you in court. It helps you get out on bond. It helps you if you need a habeas. So not filing doesn't protect you. And I hear you. You're like, well, I'm on the ban list. It's just going to pen forever. Okay, not the best thing, but you can generally still get a work permit if you're on the ban list. So my recommendation is to file. If you want to talk through more, reach out for a consultation. TikTok, no quiero dar mi nombre. Is that your handle? I love that. That's so good. Does an F4 I-130 have any chance to fight a case? This is a sibling petition. This means you've been petitioned by a U.S. citizen, 20 years in the country. How long has your I-130 been pending? Are you close to your priority date, or is it many years in the future? When did you file your case? If it's like coming up soon, it's not that it helps you fight your case, but it means you're further along in the process and you could maybe get back in if you get deported. I would want to ask more like, are you married? Do you have kids born here? Et cetera. Like, what I'm looking at, if you get picked up, how do I get you out of detention and how do I defend against a deportation? That's what I'm looking at. And then also I would like to know how many years you have left on your priority date. Sticking with the English, Willie, I see you. I'll get to yours in Spanish. Do I do EB3 cases? I don't. I finished all the interviews and got the job. Good job, Ethan. Congratulations. I don't do EB3 cases, but I can refer you to someone who does if you DM me. Jeffrey, I came to the U.S. by the border entrance. They released me without an I-94. I'm married to a U.S. citizen with 2 kids. I have to leave the country to do my interview for my green card. Asylum case still open. When did you come in and did they give you any release paperwork? Sometimes even if you didn't get an I-94, they did parole you. So I don't want to just accept that you didn't get the proper paperwork to get status through your spouse. If not, then I want to do an I-130, and if you filed your asylum in time, maybe you don't need a waiver. All of this is TBD. I have a lot of questions on timeline and paperwork. So this will be something we'd want to review in a consultation. Okay, this is Sai. Thank you for answering. I'm from India. DC processing time is 15 months. So you're outside of processing time. I'm on 19 months right now. Great. Okay. I think that you're in a good position to do your own status inquiry, do congressional, talk to your employer about getting their attorney involved. All 3 of the above. You can hit them from multiple angles, and something should get it unstuck. You could also, if you didn't use a lawyer for the one step, it might be worth hiring a lawyer, which this is something we could do at my office, to do a file review for you, or your employer's firm could do it as well if they offer it, because we want to make sure there wasn't anything weird or wonky in your application that's causing the delays or the hiccups. Okay, you've been here since 2:15. Was this the no quiero dar mi nombre? Was this the F4? Are you from Mexico? If so, it's like a 25 year wait, so you're not even halfway there. So you still got a ways to go on that. What I would want to do for you is talk through safety planning and how you would defend a detention or a deportation if you got picked up. Okay, I'm going to give you guys your action item, and then I'm going to answer Willie's question in Spanish so my English watchers can get the action item. This is a local action item. Remember, we always talk about something every week that we can do to support the community. This Sunday, June 21st, there's a flea market in Manor called the Ghost Town Manor Flea Market, La Pulga, in Manor from 9 to 5. We'll be there offering free consultations. So, and safety planning packets. So come on down to La Pulga in Manor this Sunday. And then Willie, I'll answer your question in Spanish for my English watchers. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next Tuesday in English. ¿Qué hay de cierto que ya están cayendo abogados estafadores como Mendoza y también Lozano? ¿Cómo podemos encontrar honestos? Aunque tengan licencia, es difícil encontrar uno será cierto que puedo obtener de regreso la mitad de lo que gasté en abogado si decido cancelar un caso de antemano. Gracias. Willie, sí, está tocando un tema muy difícil para la comunidad inmigrante y eso es que tenemos varios abogados que han recibido demandas por sospechan fraude. Lo que las demandas dicen es que estos abogados han estado haciendo casos de VAWA sin decir a sus clientes lo que estaban poniendo en sus solicitudes, que obviamente eso es fraude. La primera demanda fue contra la abogada Alejandra Lozano, y la semana después de recibir la demanda, ella renunció su licencia de ser abogada y ahora cambió su despacho al nombre Luz Legal, pero luego cerraron las puertas y parece que tienen miles y miles de casos y clientes pendientes con ellos y ahora no están recibiendo llamadas y su sitio de web dice que van a dar paquetes o copias de expedientes a sus ex clientes entre 60 días. Es una lástima muy grande lo que ha pasado con estos clientes. Y realmente estas noticias de fraude en estos programas van a perjudicar a toda la comunidad y a las víctimas reales. Es una lástima y todos están sufriendo por eso. Mi recomendación a los clientes de ellos es que obtengan consultas con otros abogados para ver qué pueden hacer. Por ejemplo, hay posibilidad de pedir visa U por haber sido víctima de fraude de ella. Pero por lo menos es necesario cambiar su dirección con el servicio de inmigración porque normalmente todas las noticias de citas de biométricos, recibos, decisiones vienen solo a los abogados en casos de VAWA porque no es seguro mandar noticias a las casas de los clientes porque a veces viven con sus abusadores. Entonces ellos no van a recibir, sin cambiar su dirección, no van a recibir noticias de inmigración. Entonces hay prisa en ese requisito de cambiar su dirección. Y aparte de eso, la estrategia es algo que pueden discutir en una consulta. Y la manera de asegurar que sus abogados no son de fraude es asegurar que tienen buena reputación, que no han sufrido consecuencias o, how would you say, they've not been disciplinaria por parte de la barra de abogados en su estado. Puede chequear con la barra de abogados para ver que no tienen una historia de disciplina contra el abogado. Ese es mi primer consejo. Segundo, es que hay que asegurar que pueden hablar cuando empiezan su caso con un abogado para discutir la estrategia y que ellos explican lo que están haciendo y la tipo de evidencia requerida y que están de acuerdo con la estrategia, porque ustedes clientes, obviamente es su vida, es su caso. Entonces tienen que estar informados y tomar la decisión de elegir la estrategia de BAWA, de la visa U, de la visa T o cualquier otra estrategia que el abogado está recomendando. Entonces esto tiene que ser una decisión informada. Y las demandas dicen, no tengo información sobre los procesos de ellos, no sé, pero lo que las demandas dicen es que los clientes no sabían qué estaban haciendo, que ella era la abogada de los milagros y pusieron todo en las manos de ella sin entender lo que estaba haciendo. No sé qué pasó en su despacho, pero la manera de asegurar que eso no pase con ustedes es tener una conversación muy clara con su abogado. ¿Qué estamos haciendo? ¿Qué evidencia necesito? Y que están de acuerdo con la estrategia. Porque es un proyecto juntos, ¿no? Preparar un caso de inmigración y meterlo a la agencia. Es una decisión que tomamos juntos y trabajamos juntos como abogados y nuestros clientes. Esa es mi recomendación. Gracias por la pregunta, Willy. Thank you everybody for being here with me. Nos vemos el jueves en español. Adiós.